McDonald's is discontinuing some diversity practices and connecting this to the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. What are the implications of this connection?
The Supreme Court ruling focused on affirmative action in college admissions, not corporate diversity programs. McDonald's mentions a shifting legal landscape, but how does that relate to this ruling? Is this a real legal concern or a way to scale back diversity initiatives?
Back in 2021, McDonald's started several diversity initiatives. This was after sexual harassment lawsuits and a discrimination lawsuit by Black former franchise owners. Can you tell me more about those initiatives and what they were trying to achieve?
McDonald's wanted to have more diversity in their senior leadership and wanted suppliers to focus on diversity training and representation. This was all part of a bigger effort to create inclusivity and equity. Is it possible this rollback means their priorities have changed, or they think they've achieved those initial goals?
Now, McDonald's is stopping those specific diversity goals for senior leadership and ending that supplier diversity program. Does the Supreme Court ruling directly impact these programs?
The Supreme Court ruling didn't specifically talk about corporate diversity programs. It isn't clear why McDonald's is ending these programs. What other reasons might they have for this decision?
They're also pausing what they call external surveys. What are these surveys and why would they pause them?
McDonald's hasn't given specifics, but other companies have stopped taking part in surveys like the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index. That one looks at LGBTQ plus inclusion in the workplace. Pausing these surveys could be a way to avoid being scrutinized or facing legal problems about how they collect data and use diversity metrics. Do you think this pause will affect how transparent and accountable they are about their diversity efforts?
McDonald's says their decision comes from a shifting legal landscape and what other corporations are doing. What's happening with other companies when it comes to diversity initiatives?
Companies like Walmart, John Deere, and Harley-Davidson have all cut back on their diversity and inclusion programs in the past year. This might mean that corporate approaches to diversity are changing, maybe because of political pressure or changing views in society. Does this point to a bigger trend, and what does it mean for corporate social responsibility?
Some conservative commentators are saying companies should completely abandon diversity programs. Could this be affecting what companies are deciding to do?
There's been a lot of pushback against DEI initiatives from certain political groups. That pressure, along with the legal uncertainties around affirmative action, could be making companies more cautious. How do these outside pressures interact with the goals and values that companies have internally?
McDonald's claims to be committed to inclusivity and a diverse workforce, even though they're ending these specific programs. How do they explain these two things that seem to contradict each other?
McDonald's did achieve gender pay equity and went beyond their supplier diversity spending goal. Those things suggest they can make progress on diversity initiatives. But stopping specific goals and programs makes people wonder how committed they really are to systemic change. How can they show a real dedication to inclusivity without these concrete goals?
The company's diversity team is going to be called the Global Inclusion Team now. Is this name change really significant or just a symbolic gesture?
The change from diversity to inclusion might seem small, but it could mean they're moving away from solid, measurable diversity goals and going toward a fuzzier idea of inclusion. How will they measure and show progress on inclusion without specific goals and metrics?
We haven't heard from groups like the McDonald's Hispanic Owner-Operators Association or the National Black McDonald's Operators Association. What perspectives could they give us about how this could affect diverse franchise owners within McDonald's?
Their insights could be really valuable for understanding how these changes will impact representation and support for those franchise owners. It'd be good to know what their experiences are and what concerns they have as they navigate this changing corporate world. What sort of challenges and opportunities might come up for these franchise owners because of these policy changes?
The impact of McDonald's decision could go beyond just one company. Do you think other companies might do the same thing?
If this becomes a trend, it could impact job opportunities for underrepresented groups and maybe even worsen existing inequalities in leadership positions across different industries. There's a chance that we could see a much broader rollback of diversity efforts. How could this affect the progress we've made in creating more fair and inclusive workplaces?
This kind of trend might send a negative message to employees and consumers who really value diversity and inclusion. Could there be a backlash against McDonald's or other companies making these kinds of changes?
Consumers are more and more aware of corporate social responsibility, and they might choose to support companies that align with their values. We don't know yet if there will be a big consumer response to these policy shifts. How do you think consumer activism and advocacy might influence what companies decide to do about diversity and inclusion in the future?
This all ties back to the bigger discussion about what role corporations have in promoting social change. Some people say businesses should just focus on making money, while others think they have a responsibility to address social issues. Where does McDonald's decision fit into this?
It's possible that McDonald's decision to roll back these programs means they're putting profit before social responsibility. They might be trying to avoid controversies and potential lawsuits. This approach could alienate employees and consumers who value diversity and inclusion. How can companies find a balance between their financial goals and their social responsibilities in a way that works for everyone involved?
McDonald's says they're still committed to inclusion, but their actions seem to go against that. They did achieve gender pay equity and exceeded their supplier diversity spending goal, which shows they're capable of making progress. So how do these accomplishments fit with their decision to end certain goals and programs?
Ending these programs raises questions about how dedicated they are to systemic change. It makes you wonder if maybe they got complacent after hitting certain goals or if something else is behind this change in strategy. What specific things can McDonald's do to demonstrate their commitment to inclusion beyond just reaching certain numbers?
This situation really highlights how complex and ever-changing diversity and inclusion efforts are. What are your thoughts on this?
Diversity and inclusion are not just about meeting quotas or avoiding lawsuits. It's about creating a workplace where everyone feels valued, respected, and able to contribute their unique skills and perspectives. It's important to remember that true inclusivity needs a multifaceted approach. It's not just about numbers, but also about fostering a culture of belonging and equity. How can organizations actually measure and evaluate the impact of their diversity and inclusion efforts beyond just looking at numbers?
McDonald's achieved gender pay equity at all levels and even met their goal of having 25% of their supplier spending go to diverse-owned businesses 3 years early. Yeah. Doesn't that make you think they're taking a different approach to diversity now?
It's confusing they would discontinue some programs while exceeding other targets. Makes you wonder about their strategy. Are they shifting focus or changing what they think is important? Could this be because of how the law is being interpreted, or are they just reevaluating their own goals?
McDonald's keeps saying they're committed to a diverse workforce and that it's a good thing. So how do they explain this when they're making these policy changes?
It does seem like their actions contradict their commitment to diversity. Raise the question, can a company really be effective in promoting diversity if they don't have specific measurable goals and programs? How are they going to make sure they keep making progress toward a really diverse workforce without these initiatives?
Their diversity team is now being called the Global Inclusion Team. Is that name change significant at all?
It might seem like a small change going from diversity to inclusion, but it could signal a shift in what they're emphasizing. Makes you wonder how they define and measure inclusion when they don't have those concrete diversity metrics. Do you think this change will actually lead to a better approach to creating a welcoming and fair workplace, or could it just be covering up a move away from real diversity goals?
We haven't heard any reactions yet from groups like the McDonald's Hispanic Owner-Operators Association or the National Black McDonald's Operators Association. What kind of perspectives do you think they might have on these changes?
Their perspectives are really important for understanding how these policy changes might affect things. Will these changes impact who owns franchises and how much support diverse franchise owners get within McDonald's? We need to consider what the consequences might be for representation and opportunities for diverse entrepreneurs who are part of their franchise model.
This whole situation with McDonald's brings up some big questions about what will happen with corporate diversity efforts.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you think this will have on employees, consumers, and the overall social landscape?
I think this is a turning point for corporate social responsibility. Will other companies follow McDonald's lead? If they do, we could see a big decrease in diversity initiatives across all sorts of industries. The impact of that could be huge, affecting everything from job opportunities to how consumers see companies and even the progress we've made toward a more inclusive society.
Until next time.
Goodbye.